Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Kerv Digital webinar on supercharging your field service. So we're delighted to have you with us this morning, and we've just got a good number of people joining. We just see a few more coming in, so we'll just give it a couple of seconds, and then we'll get started with our webinar this morning. Okay, great. So if we move on, and we'll do some quick introductions. We will then be looking through a demonstration of Microsoft Dynamics 365 Field Service and some different scenarios there. We'll be talking about some of the added value accelerator that we've created for field service, and then also we'll allow time for question and answers. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to throw those in the chat, or we'll pick those up at the end with you. So just moving on to introductions. My name's John O'Dell. I'm the Head of Business Development here at Kerv Digital for our commercial and financial services sectors, and I'm joined this morning by Sonia. Good morning, Sonia.
Morning.
Sonia is one of our pre-sales solution architects and is an expert in Microsoft Dynamics 365, all things, and especially field service. So before I hand over to Sonia, I'm just going to give you a very, very quick bit of background on who we are as Kerv. So Kerv Digital is part of the Kerv Group, and we are a group of multidisciplinary technology practices who can provide a range of services across digital transformation needs, all from securing your network and optimizing your Wi-Fi through to things like your end user compute, so sort of Microsoft 365, Office, Teams, and what have you. We also do the implementation of cloud-based call centers and compliant communication, recording and management for regulated businesses such as banks and other financial services institutions. Kerv Digital, we sit within that group structure as the specialist digital transformation and Microsoft part of the business, and there's about 450 people within Kerv Digital. We specialise in a range of different Microsoft technologies, which I'll talk about in a little bit of detail just in a minute, and we're a trusted and highly accredited partner for Microsoft, as I'm sure you'd expect. We work across a range of core sectors, so as I mentioned, financial services, commercial are two of the sectors that I focus on personally. We also work a lot in transport, in central government, and in security and public safety, so with sort of policing and defence and what have you. And we also do a lot of work in the not-for-profit and professional membership sectors. So within, in terms of what we do and how we deliver our services to our customers, as Kerv Digital, there's a few different approaches we take. So one is that we can cover off digital strategy and full-scale transformation programs, all the way from researching and understanding your fundamental business requirements, helping you build evidence-based business cases, and then going through processes such as service design and user experience design, through the technology transformation, technology delivery, and also then embedding change through specialist user adoption and change management practitioners. We also do just the technology build, the digital build, so we can just come in and deliver the technology for you. And centered around everything is the concept of enablement, which is really a key thing for us, which is about helping our customers to really own the technology, help to build up their internal capabilities and skills, so that you, as the customer, can really take this technology forward and do as much of it with it as you want to yourselves, with obviously Kerv there to help and support in whatever capacity you need us to. And then those are a range of the different sort of technologies that we work with. We'll just sort of move on quickly into a bit more about the actual sort of the different services. So I've already touched on some of this in that we provide the whole sort of experience design up front. We have a specialist data practice as well, so we can really help you to harness and extract the maximum value from your data. And a lot of the things that the projects we work on are really sort of underpinned by a solid data strategy and a modern data platform. And especially with the rise of AI, the core thing, the key thing with getting the most out of your AI strategy is to have good, solid data. We also specialise from a technology point of view in Microsoft Power Platform, which is Microsoft's low-code technology platform, and in Dynamics 365, which is what Sonia is going to be talking to us about today. So within Dynamics 365, that covers customer experience, which is things like sales, customer service, and what have you. We also have specialism in Microsoft's financial solutions, so Business Central and Dynamics finance and supply chain management, and then obviously today we're talking about field service. And then that's all backed up by some really important fundamental underlying capabilities around software development. So as well as configuring Microsoft products, we have the ability to extend and develop those. The use of Microsoft Azure, which is Microsoft's compute platform, where we can access a whole range of different integration, communication, and AI and other capabilities to infuse into those solutions that are built on Power Platform and Dynamics. And also then DevSecOps, which is the management of the solution through its lifecycle, and ensuring that we deploy secure, tested, and supportable solutions to people. And then underneath that, we have a whole range of services, again, touched on some of those, such as change management. We also very much specialise in accessibility and security, and we develop our own accelerators, which help us to get, time to value in terms of these solutions faster for our customers. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Sonia to talk through us Microsoft Power Platform, and then get into some really interesting detail around field service.
Thanks, John. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm just going to give a really quick overview on the business applications and Power Platform from Microsoft. So if you're brand new to it, I'll try and explain it quite simply, but it's a set of business tools that are geared towards, different areas of your business. So you've got one for sales, marketing, and then you've got your kind of supply chain management, project operations modules as well. We're going to be focusing on the field service module today. So the most important thing to think about with this is it's all sat on top of your data in the same place. You can connect in other sort of third-party systems, but these what we call first-party apps or business applications are surfacing your data, all pulling from the same place, but for each different app, it's geared towards that particular business operation, and we'll see that a lot with the demonstrations today. And then on top of this, we've also got the Power Platform, and this is Microsoft's low-code suite of tools. So I'm not going to give a full overview of this, but this complements these applications really nicely. So you've got things like you can build productivity apps, and we'll see a few of those today embedded into field service. We've also got something called Power Automate, so that allows us to run all sorts of automation, so reducing the amount of manual work. So something as simple as just kind of automated emails when you've broken an SLA or something like that, or notifications, to kind of full-scale automated work. There's a whole range of other things in there. I think they're the ones that are kind of most relevant to the demonstrations today. So I'm going to move away from slides in a moment, but we've got a Q&A thing on the go here. I think the Q&A for Teams is playing up a bit this morning, so I think it's probably a Slido. Jason might come in and correct me, but yeah, if you've got any questions as we go along, we've got a question section at the end, so feel free to drop them in here. I'll just give you a few more seconds if you want to scan that to get your burning questions ready, and then I'll move on. Okay, so thinking about field service, we've got customers and citizens, and I pull citizens in here as well because I do a lot of work across central government. So it's not always, traditional sort of customer and sale experience. It could be, something like a police force and citizens around field service. But they expect, customers and citizens alike expect that quick and efficient service. So, we're living in a world where you can get everything super quick. If you want to watch a film, you can find it on Prime, on Netflix almost immediately. You can watch that super quick. If you want to order McDonald's, that's completely possible now, and I am very guilty of that on a regular basis. But and it's the same with our field service. So something breaks, or if we need something sorting, we expect it quick and efficiently. But a lot of problems we're seeing with organisations, I'm sure you might have experienced some of this in your own organisations. We've got siloed data, so lots of different systems. Sometimes it feels like departments are just not speaking to each other because they just, it's really hard to all be looking at the same source of data, same single source of truth. We've also got skill gaps in workforce, and it's really hard to get an overview of, how many more of this type of skill do we need to improve our efficiencies and our work quality as well. And then it's also hard to see a lack of reporting and forecasting. So again, the work might be getting done, but how can we make that, bigger and better without that kind of full overview of what's happening? So for the sake of the demonstrations today, I've come up with a fake company. So this is Kerv Aero, and they build and service planes. Now you're going to see very, very quickly that I don't know anything about building and servicing planes in the demonstration. So everything is quite oversimplified, but it's hopefully going to show you, show off the kind of features of field service in a, fairly understandable way. So Kerv Aero, they've built a lot of planes, and they now hold maintenance contracts with some of the big airlines. So they'll be, going around all of the kind of large jets and everything. This is more around kind of commercial airlines and servicing anything. So they've got these contracts where they're kind of regularly going around and fixing stuff. So we're going to look at two things today. So the first part of field service is around work order management. So this is things like this scenario. So we've got a dispatcher. She is trying to assign work to her team, and you'll see in the scenario that it's lots of planes that need fixing essentially. So in order to keep it simple, so we're going to see how she can look at a schedule board. So it's kind of a living, breathing schedule board. She can see where everyone is at any one time, what they're working on, how it's going. She's able to kind of deep dive into team members here and see, she can see if they're traveling there, if it's in progress, if something needs to be escalated. And then she can assign work based on, as it says here, skill set, capacity and location. So it's giving the right work to the right person, essentially. And then we're able to see reporting here as well about, how people are being utilised, if they're breaking SLAs, if they're, turning up late, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to dive into Dynamics now. So if you've never seen Dynamics before, this is an example of the field service app. So again, this is all pulling from Dataverse, or this kind of, I'll call it database with bells and whistles on, essentially. And it's surfacing the data that we need in order to service and, fix these planes. Down the left-hand side, we've got our navigation, so we can see we've got all of the stuff we need around scheduling, but we are also able to go in and look at lists of our accounts, our contacts, and there's loads of other stuff in here, and I can't possibly kind of talk about it all today. You'll be glad to hear, otherwise you'd be here for the whole working day. But hopefully you'll get a good idea of the capabilities of field service. So on this schedule board here, we've got all of our work orders. So these are individual jobs for, they could be individual planes, it could be a suite of smaller planes, that kind of thing. We've got all of our resources or our kind of team members down the side. This is a view of, all of the resources. So this might be something that a kind of top level manager of the whole company sees. Again, this is a demo environment, so this is all kind of completely made up. We've got our airline Brian Air down here, so this would be all of the resources, but we might want to see just the people who are working at Heathrow. So we can click into this one and we get a kind of minimize list here as well. So we're able to create these different views based on what we want to see. So we're able to, I'm just going to refresh that. Something's. There we go. Yeah, we're able to create these different views. So we've got one for Heathrow, Gatwick, East Midlands, but we could just as easily create a separate sort of schedule board for all of the engineers or all of the painters, for example. So using these filters, we're able to kind of filter it down exactly how we want to see it. And these could be set up across the organisation, across different teams. You can even set up your kind of personal boards here as well if you want to. And then if it's kind of something that other people are interested in, you can enable it for them. So you've got a lot of different ways of viewing the same data that suits you. And that's quite common across Dynamics. You're always able to sort of arrange the data how you want to see it. And it can be completely different to someone else. Everyone works in slightly different ways. So looking at our schedule here, if we look into a work order, so we can hover over it, get a good idea of what's happening. And we're going to look into this one. So this work order has been assigned to Anna. We can see it's to do with Ryanair. I'm going to click into this and see a bit more about it. So this gives us the full details in the same screen, so we don't leave our schedule board. I think it's a bit slow because I'm presenting, but once this loads, let me click into that again. So that gives us this should give us the full details of everything. Here we go. So we've got a bit of information about what kind of work order it is. So we can see a Ryanair plane, a Boeing 747 needs some engine maintenance. And we can see that Anna's been assigned to it. A really nice feature here, if you haven't heard of Copilot yet, it's Microsoft's AI product, and they're infusing that into across all of their sort of product suite. So within field service, we can generate a summary of our work order. So yes, we could go through and read all the different fields, but if we want to come in, we're a dispatcher, we're trying to get a really good idea of what's happening on lots of different work orders. This can generate, using AI, generate a nice summary for us here. So it's telling us about where the plane is, what tasks need completing in order to complete this engine maintenance, and which plane it's on. So we've got a few account instructions here. We've got the time we're going to turn up, the location, and then if we look through, I won't kind of go through all of these, but we're able to see financial details here, because when we create this work order, we're able to see what kind of tasks need to happen, what kind of parts we might need. This is when you'll start to notice my lack of knowledge of plane maintenance, so it'll all fall apart here. But again, it's kind of just to keep it simple for the sake of the demo. But we've got a list of tasks here that need to be completed, and we'll see in our second scenario how a frontline worker would actually go through and complete these. So the work orders are kind of really set up to guide people through and give an overview, to firstly the frontline worker of what's happening and where they're up to on a job. They might go on a break and see where they've got up to, or it could be it's a way of kind of live reporting back to a dispatcher or a manager as well, because if they can just kind of keep this updated and we can see how it's going. So we can now, I'll go back to our work order and then I'll look at our resource. So we can also open up Anna. So she's one of our team members, and we can see that she's also an engine specialist, and she's a good engine specialist. So we've got some what are called characteristics here. So this allows us to assign our skills to people, and this kind of information is on all of our resources. It can be sort of pulled into skill reports, so we can see we might need to put more people through some sort of training, we might need more first aiders, that kind of thing. We can also see her work hours here. So this is a built-in feature of this system, and it also can link to Outlook. Something I've seen with a few clients is that they already have systems in place for booking annual leave and work hours and something like that. So it is possible in here. However, in reality, people already have HR systems, and so it's completely possible to kind of integrate those as well. So this doesn't need to be seen as some sort of replacement for an existing system. But it is possible to add annual leave in here, and then it will reflect on the schedule board as well. And it will reflect when a dispatcher is trying to kind of assign work to someone. It'll, stop them or give them a notification that they're actually on annual leave then. So again, it's just showing us all of the data around, who's available when in one place. Okay, so we've also got a map view. Now, for this to kind of look really good, I'd have to be, lots of different people tracking with tracking enabled. So it's not possible for the demo, but you can see these are kind of resources addresses. If they're on the move and they had their kind of tracking enabled, we would be able to see where everyone is. We've got our Heathrow terminal here, so we'd be able to see if people are kind of almost there. In other sort of field service organisations, you might have lots of different. You might have field service technicians visiting kind of home addresses and everything like that. So you'd be able to see on a map view where everyone was. Okay, and then we've got notifications that come in here. So as well as sort of assigning work in advance, you know, you've got your set work orders, you've got, you know that this plane needs maintenance every few weeks or something like that. You're going to have emergencies as well. So we can see we've got a new booking alert, an emergency engine repair is needed. We can also see that down at the bottom here. And so we can go and schedule that in, maybe kind of bump some others back that don't need to be there. So when we've got an emergency, we can see that we've got some SLA timers in here. And so we can see that this was reported an hour ago. So we've got, you know, an hour left to go and arrive, and then a bit more time to go and resolve that. So we've got that kind of constant feedback of how we're doing. We can see if we're meeting our KPIs as well. And then if we want to, you know, schedule a work order, this is quite a manual way of doing it, but hang on, let me just come out of that. I'm just gonna refresh this, I think, because I've been sat there a while. It's kind of a bit stale. Yes, when we come to schedule it, we're not going to have you know, an idea of everyone's skills just in our heads. So we can use the system to, let me just open up that work order. It can suggest you know, who the best resource is for us. So if I come into here, we can look at the details of this work order. Let me just do that again. Live demoing is always fun. Here we go. So we can see that it's engine maintenance for Brian Air for one of their planes, and it's suggesting the best people for the job. So the system knows for engine maintenance, we need certain skills. So we need an engineer, and we might need others, and that's all kind of stored against this work order. And it's suggesting who the next, who the best people are. So these two are engineers, and it's giving us their next time slots that we can book. So it's just helping us to give the right job to the right person. It's also considering travel time here. So as well as that kind of skill match, is also seeing who's got, you can see who's got the least travel time. So we can see who might, if this was an emergency, for example, we would probably want to use the closest person who was qualified. And so we're able to kind of book that in for that person there. So as well as these kind of ad hoc things that come in, emergency or some kind of maintenance that needs doing, it might not be very high priority. We can have what are called agreements with our customers. So I've got one here. So we've got one here with Brian Air. And this allows us to set up essentially contracts with our customers. So we can see here that we've got a sort of timeline of what's happened with this agreement. So we've got kind of back and forth on the agreement and the sign off for it. This agreement is covering sort of regular maintenance. So we know that for one of our Boeing 747s, we want quarterly engine maintenance on it, and some cockpit servicing. What this will do is it will automatically create those work orders for us. So we're not having to do everything manually according to some sort of list somewhere. We can set this up so all of our sort of regular and work that we know about, so something that's not an emergency, this can set it up for us. It can even book it for us if we really want to. So we could set it up. You can even have things like preferred resources. So if you've got a customer that really likes one of your engineers and they only want to work with that, you can kind of book it with them. Equally, if they've had a bad experience with an engineer and they have said, we never want them to come and work on our planes again, you can set up those sorts of preferences. So you can make sure that as well as skills, as well as location, you're also matching the work with the preferred resource as well. Okay, so that's everything around sort of work orders. That's a very sort of light touch on it. I'm just going to jump back to the PowerPoint just to look at some reporting. So I thought I'd show you kind of the dashboards in the system that have a bit more data in. So obviously mine's a kind of demo system. It doesn't have that sort of live data. This isn't any sort of anyone's live system, but this is an example of the type of dashboard that you might get. So this is all out of the box with Field Service Dynamics. So we can see various stats here. So we've got all of our work orders, broken promise stats. So we can kind of get that live reporting on how we're doing. Travel time. So we might want to look at assigning different improving that travel time or giving jobs to nearer people, that kind of thing. So this is our sort of work order summary. We've also got utilization reporting, so we can see, how much time people are idle for. So we want to be making the most of our resources and kind of, making sure they're fully scheduled. And so this just gives us that really good overview of that here as well. We're now going to look at what a frontline worker might see. So we've got frontline worker has been assigned to work orders, so it's kind of the other end of that that view now. And there is actually a field service mobile app, so it looks, it's pulling the same data through, it's able to see work orders, but it's again geared towards what the frontline worker might need to see. So we're going to see her work through the tasks on an engine maintenance work order and look at how we can complete that and how it kind of guides us through that. So I'm kind of emulating a phone here on my browser, but this is essentially what the frontline worker might see. So they come into the mobile app, and we can see that we've got different bookings here. So we've got completed ones. It's telling us, what the next one is. This one's saying go there in an hour. We'll click into that now, and we can see, all of the details around it. So again, this is all of the information around that. I'm just going to come back out that a second. So let me just refresh this, sorry. Okay. So here we go. Should take us to our work order. Okay. And so we can see we can update our progress here. So we might say that we're now traveling to it. We can go in and look at our customer. So we can see it's to Ryanair. We're going to our hangar at Heathrow. And we've even got a map. So, if we really want to, we can click get directions here, and that will open up our map app. It doesn't have to do it through here. If we prefer Google Maps, we can set it to kind of open up our default map through there and guide us. And then we've also got what we actually need to do on this work order. So we've got the list of tasks here. We can tick them off as we go. And so again, this just gives us that kind of live progress reporting. We've noticed that we need to look at, we might need to use some engine oil here. Again, excuse my lack of plain knowledge. But we can also check our inventory. So we can go and look at if we've got any engine oil on hand. So we can see this is a list of all the kind of products on the go. I could filter this down, so it's just showing what's in my truck at the moment. So I can see that I've got some engine oil there and I've got 5 tins of it. So I should be good for this job because it only needs 1. We can set a reorder point. So when that gets down to 2, that can be automatically reordered. So as well as sort of that work order and dispatching management, we've also got full sort of product inventory management here as well. Actually, I'll go back to that work order. So we're working through. We can say we've cleaned the engine. We're doing a damage inspection. So this particular task actually comes with a list of kind of subtasks that we need to go through in order to kind of tick this off. So this is completely configurable, and each sort of work order can automatically generate the specific tasks that we need. So we're coming in and looking at this engine. So we can say it's a Rolls-Royce engine. We've noticed that there's some damage, and because we've said yes, we can upload a picture of that. Now, if this was actually on my phone, that might open up the camera, and so we could kind of take a live picture of that as well. We're able to upload a few pictures there. So that's that one. We can mark that we've kind of finished that damage inspection, and we can just kind of work through all of the others as well. We've used a tin of engine oil in there as well, so we can tick that off. And then when we finished all the tasks, we might need to get the customer to sign off for us. And so this is all possible on the mobile app as well. So, they're able to just kind of sign here, and that's saved against that work order. So we're getting that full sort of, all of the kind of sign off, all of the task, all of the details around what's happened with this work order, we're getting in one place so that we're able to kind of report back on that, and we can just say, we've got proof that this has been done and signed off. Once we've completed that, we can set that to complete. It'll record the time, how long it took. So amazingly, it took us 3 minutes to fix a whole engine, so that's great. And then we can go back to our bookings and move on to the next one. Okay, so going back to our scenario, so I've just got so that was kind of out of the box field service. So again, there's a lot of other stuff I haven't touched on. There's things like you can set up something called resource scheduling optimization, where all of the bookings are just kind of done for you, and there's a lot of automation you can do around that. I've kind of purposefully shown you a more manual way of doing it, just so you can kind of understand how all the elements fit together. I'm now going to show you something that we worked on a customer with for resource planning and forecasting. So this particular customer wasn't kind of at a point where they were assigning individual work orders to people. Instead, they wanted the ability to kind of demand resource within teams. So, for example, I might be a team leader at Heathrow, for example, and I know that I'm working on, I know that there's going to be lots of planes coming in, or, we're building some new planes, that kind of thing. And I don't have the individual work orders. I just know that I might want 5 engineers this week, 2 electricians, 3 painters, for example. And that was the need of that particular customer. And so we built something on top of field service for them to be able to do that quickly. So I'm going to go through this scenario quickly. So we've got essentially, what I was just discussing. So we've got, they need to be able to request resources for kind of 12 weeks in advance. And so they wanted to be able to specify that with different skills. They were kind of doing that on Excel before we built them something to help with that here, because they had no other way of doing it. But there were kind of all the team leaders were working on their own Excel sheets, uploading them somewhere. It was a huge manual effort, lots of room for error. And then we're going to see how the resource manager can look at those requests and kind of assign that work based on the different skills. So a slightly different than assigning work orders to individuals. It's more sort of assigning individuals to teams. And then we also built something where, let's say there was some work happening on a plane. It needed painting, and then it needed some electronics over the top, for example. If the paint took longer to dry than was planned, due to the weather or whatever, they might have had an electrician scheduled to start the next week, but because the paint has taken longer to dry, they need to delay them. So what we made them was something we've called short-term transfer, which means they could kind of put their electrician up for grabs for another team, rather than that electrician just kind of sit there not doing anything for the next week. So it was making sure to utilise everyone as much as possible, even when things happened, that they weren't prepared for. So just going to jump back into Dynamics. So the first, this is the Power Apps. This is the first thing that we kind of built. So this is just a kind of example version. So this gives them the ability, if we come in here, to request all the different sort of skill sets that they might need in bulk. So if you were to do this within field service and request, 10 electricians, you'd have to create all of those sort of manually, assign the skills, you'd have to create those 10 records. We're able to do that we're able to compile a list for certain dates that we might need and kind of create that all in one go here. So I'm going to say we want an engineer, we want an engine specialist. We want them from Monday till Friday. We want, let's say, 3 of those, and we want them to be good. So we've got our skill rating here. We might say excellent, but then it kind of narrows down the people that we get. So we can see it's building up our list of engineers here. But on the same list, we might say we want one driver as well from the same date, and so we're able to add that in here. So we could build up our whole list of people that we might need for each specific week. I'm happy with that for this week, so I'm going to submit that. So again, we're able to do this super quickly, and we would have had to do that sort of all manually before. So now we've created that, I'm going to go and look at my list of requests so we can see that's come through here. We could filter this by specific weeks as well if we want to, so we can have a look at that and see kind of what's come through. This is what we just requested, and there was some already in there. We're able to cancel from here as well. So the idea behind this app was just to give them a much kind of quicker way of doing things in bulk, and we sort of based this off the fact that they were using an Excel spreadsheet, and so we wanted to keep, obviously it doesn't look like an Excel spreadsheet, but we wanted to keep a kind of tabular view of it so that it was quite familiar to them. However, this could be kind of styled or configured to look exactly how it might work for another organization. Exactly for another organization, however they would want to see this data. It could all be sort of rejigged to meet that. So we're able to cancel that from here. We could also reschedule that as well. So, if we wanted to move one of our painters to the next week, we can do that. So if I come into our back into field service, so this would be maybe the resource manager view. So they're able to see a full overview of who's requested what. So we've got all of our team leaders here. You can see we've got our territories, they're called here. So we've got Heathrow, Gatwick. We've kind of split up the main London airports into their own sort of categories, but perhaps in other areas, we've got just one for Wales because we've got less airports. So we've got, a bit easier to manage. So we can see that for the next few weeks, we've got 23 requests, we've got 2 rescheduled, 3 cancelled, and we're able to kind of click into this. So this is another sort of custom thing that we've built, again, to give our the resource managers a really quick overview of who's requested what, rather than just kind of seeing it in a list format. And also from here, we might be able to see that some have been cancelled, and we want to know why this person is cancelling so many or rescheduling. We want to kind of see if they're having any issues with their scheduling, or if they need a bit of help. And so we're able to do that straight from here. So we don't have to go and jump over to Outlook, find them in there. We can kind of contact them in whichever way we want to from here. We've got Teams, Outlook, calling that might go through Teams, or whichever sort of your default calling app is. So we're able to see exactly what's going on and kind of manage that as well. So if we go back to our schedule board, so this is showing our work orders from the last demo. But if we move on a few weeks, just close that map. If we go to, I'm just going to change to the Heathrow view actually. So we can see here, we've got a different view now. So we've got just the people at Heathrow, but also we're seeing this rather than hourly, we're seeing this on a kind of daily view. And so you can use the same schedule board for that sort of resource allocation as well, and to be able to see who's in what team. So we can see all of these people are in my team in Heathrow for next week. And so again, we can kind of move this around. We're able to kind of change people's start dates, that kind of thing. So really kind of interactive view there as well. We can see that, let me just go back to this view. So when I was talking about sort of working hours before and holiday, for example, we are able to set the colours that we want to see on here, but these kind of grey boxes here show, you know, the end of people's working day. So, you know, this person finishes at 5:30. This is greyed out because he's on holiday. So it's a really nice visual way of seeing, you know, not to sort of book David in for that week. Okay, so just to talk about the short-term transfer capability. So again, this could be something where where someone is, you know, not needed, they're kind of surplus for that week or the rest of the week, and so we're able to put them up for short-term transfer. So let's say for next week we no longer need this supervisor. We're able to release them to someone else, and we can set the date. You know, we might not need them for the whole week, or we might just want them for the start, and we can just say from Wednesday they're available. And so we now kind of add them to what we call our kind of short-term transfer list. This means that someone else looking in this app, if they want to go in and see if there's any availability, you know, they're like, I really need a supervisor, or I really need another painter for this week, they can come in here and they can look at this list and see if there's anyone available. So, you know, I've put up a supervisor. It almost feels a bit like eBay, kind of putting someone up for auction, but that's kind of the thinking behind it. So we've got Will has, you know, got a surplus engineer from this Friday to Wednesday, and so we're able to accept that if we want to. And so now we've got an engineer in our team. We're not having to put in a brand new request and wait for that to be assigned. We're able to get someone really quickly in there. So just another sort of thing we've built on top to allow full utilisation of these resources. So just going to jump back to the PowerPoint. So we've seen a few of the things we've built on top of there. So we've got you know, the way to kind of request those resources in bulk and set the different skills that we need. We can see that overview of who's requested what and kind of get in touch with them, or just see a really nice sort of almost audit trail of how many have been cancelled and that kind of thing, and then able to kind of release resources or you know, gain some more, kind of shuffle people around without waiting for it to be sort of allocated. So that was a really quick overview of, you know, we've just kind of touched on some of the functionality there, but hopefully you've seen how with field service and you know, Dynamics more generally, it's a single source of truth. So as I've said before, we could pull in data from external systems. So it could be, for example, the HR system bringing in people's working hours or leave, for example, to kind of complement that schedule board. So we're able to integrate to give us that single source of truth. So we know that we're looking at, you know, everything all at once. We can, from our work order, we can go and see the account, we can go and see who's working on it and get that full overview. We're able to see the live and historical reporting. So we've got dashboards giving us who's worked on what, how many have been, you know, in the time that we've given them, how many people have turned up late, or, you know, how many haven't been completed, or that kind of thing. And then the live, you know, on the schedule board, we're able to see exactly what's in progress, where people are. So, you know, if we've got customers ringing us like they haven't turned up, we could look at their location and, you know, see that they're actually 10 minutes away, that kind of thing. And then we've got the ability to automatically give work and put people in the right teams based on their skill sets, based on their capacity and their location. And there's a lot, they're the kind of three I've displayed today, but there's lots of other sort of settings we can do around that. So it could even be some, you know, preferred work. So if people say, you know, I really want to get more experience with this, we could kind of set that up so that they're kind of the preferred resource for those kind of work orders. And so, as well as giving the best quality work and the most appropriate person for that customer, we're also really making sure that we're empowering our employees, you know, and taking on board their sort of wants and needs in terms of their career goals as well. So yeah, we've got a bit of time now for any questions. Jason, I don't know if you've got any.
Yeah, so Sonia, thanks. Yeah, well, so Jason's in the background sort of making all the things work, and as we got a good list of questions there. I just want to say thanks a lot for that, Sonia. It's really helpful, I think, for everyone to see both the sort of the back end people at the office doing the scheduling, but also what the engineer can see, and also then how we can extend that using those Microsoft tools to meet really specific client requirements. And there's a lot more we can do to plug into different services as well. So Sonia touched on this when we're at the start. Things like Microsoft Dynamics Customer Service can be used and integrated with telephony, so that if people are calling in to log cases, those can then flow through to your field service. We can integrate with IoT services. So if Brynair's engine had sensors on them that suggested they needed a service, then that can automatically create some of those work orders as well. So there's lots of things we can do. There's even the ability to have, there's a function called remote assist, which, you know, if someone was servicing one of those Brynair engines and got a bit stuck with something, they can call back to base, have an engineer at base who's perhaps got a bit more experience or access to additional information, and they can, through virtual reality, sort of share and sort of co-work on those repairs. So there's an awful lot in the wider ecosystem that we can sort of delve into to meet lots of different types of needs. So just very quickly, we've got several questions have come in. So I'll just sort of I'll rattle through these as quickly as possible. I think it's also worth stating, look, we really like talking about this stuff. So if you have got some sort of more in-depth questions you'd like to find out more, you've got specific scenarios you'd like to discuss with us, please just drop us a line. We're really happy to talk through this. So the first question was around Copilot, and is that an additional cost on top of field service, or does it come ready baked in? So the functionality that we've looked at comes baked in. You can switch it on and off, and you can switch it on and off for different users. You do need a Copilot license as well to access that. Someone's also said Brynair sounds awfully familiar, purely fictitious. There's a question here about effectively about the working time directive, and I guess that's getting at working hours. And so we can absolutely configure your working hours for your people within here. There's a, and I'm sure Sonia will back up, there's a tremendous amount of configuration we can do in the background around things like working practices and what have you for different, also for different people's working requirements. So you might have a different sort of working time set up for a full-time employee versus a part-time and what have you. So very flexible, very configurable. Interesting question about fleets that are going fully electric, and most vehicles nowadays have an API of some sort. Could that be stitched in so that if someone forgets to plug the car in at night, that's factored into its use the next day? I could really do with that, because I quite often forget to plug my car in, or I plug it in but I forget to switch the charger on. So yeah, absolutely. Again, as Sonia was saying, you know, integration really is you know, sort of underpins what we do. So bringing different systems and technology and data together, you know, to optimize your operation is absolutely what we're about, and the Microsoft platform really supports that. So yeah, as long as we can get at the data, then we can do stuff with it. There's also a couple of questions around one around annual leave. So yeah, again, I think we touched on it briefly. Sonia sort of showed us and mentioned that we can integrate with HR systems. So annual leave can be reflected from the HR system into field service, or you can manage it through the field service application itself. So again, we sort of meet you where it makes most sense there, really, in those sorts of requirements. And then there's a question about the auto assignment of work orders based on geolocation and skills. So the short answer is yes, and I'll let Sonia give a slightly longer answer on that one, if that's okay, around optimization.
Yeah, is it just kind of, I can't see the list of questions, because it is essentially so around is that possible, or how it works?
Exactly, yeah. So it just says, does field service include auto assignment of work orders based on geolocation and skills? Yes,
exactly. So yes, so it's around that extra kind of module that I mentioned called resource scheduling optimization. So you're able to configure what your sort of parameters are to auto assign work. So yeah, the kind of main ones that you've mentioned there, completely possible. So location, skills, a combination of the two. So you might have a good electrician and an excellent electrician, but the good electrician is a bit closer, so you're happy for that to go to them. And it's kind of that's the rank that they need. So you're able, as well as those two, you know, there's loads of others, and I haven't had time to touch on kind of that side of things today, but you are able to set up auto assignment based on both of those things together, not just, you know, either or.